The dress that we are knitting today is worked top down with a round yoke, first knit flat to create the buttonhole and opening at the back, and then joined in the round before the body and sleeves are separated. There will be a round of rapid increasing for the skirt, which creates a really flowy and fun skirt, and then the sleeves are knit with the magic loop technique. Both the skirt and the sleeves have an I-cord bind off to finish. We will be knitting this dress in the smallest size today, which is the 3-month size. If you would like to knit a larger size, I have this pattern available on Ravelry and Etsy, and you can knit it from 3 months all the way to the 2 to 3 year size. Be sure to also follow me on Instagram for updates on upcoming patterns. I had originally designed this pattern in Sandnes Garn Alpakka. I used 3 skeins of this yarn, which is 100% alpaca. You can also just use any DK weight yarn that weighs approximately 120 yards or 110 meters per 50 grams. For this tutorial, I actually decided to play around with a different yarn. I used a drops yarn that is the same weight and fiber content as the Sandnes Garn Alpakka yarn. I will say though, I do not recommend this yarn for a tiny baby knit, as a lot more fluff did come off of this yarn than the original yarn that I used. I think Sandnes Garn Alpakka is great for tiny baby knits. This drops one had a lot of fluff, but you'll see at the end of the video, the recipient of this dress does not mind some extra fluff, so stick around to see who that is. We're also going to need a tapestry needle, some scrap yarn to place the sleeves on hold, 1 button approximately 10 millimeters in diameter, something to measure your work, either a ruler or measuring tape, 1 stitch marker. The gauge is 20 stitches by 29 rounds, and that's over 4 inches or 10 centimeters in stockinette stitch. And the needles used today, we need 3 different needles. First, the ribbing is done on a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle. And then for the yoke, we're going to need a US 6 4 millimeter needle with a 16-inch cord, or that is also a 40 centimeter cord. We'll also need a US 6 4 millimeter 24-inch cord, and this is for magic loop for the sleeves, and then also you can switch to this cord length if you're finding you have too many stitches on the needles when you get to the skirt. I also think that this dress pairs really well with the filsa cardigan, which is one of my older designs. You can find this tutorial also on my YouTube channel, and I do have the paid pattern on Ravelry and Etsy, so check that out if you haven't knitted already. And let's get started. We are going to get started using our 3.5 millimeter needles, and we are going to be doing a long tail cast on today. So grab your yarn and grab a long tail of yarn, and we'll get started with our slip knot. So I'm going to take the yarn and place it over my index finger. I'm going to wrap the yarn around again, and one more time. I'm going to take that middle strand here and pull it over the strand closest to the tip of my finger, grabbing the new middle strand, pulling it over top again, grabbing that middle strand one last time and pulling it off. Okay, and that's created a slip knot there. I'm going to now grab my needle, place that slip knot over top and secure it. Okay, for our long tail cast on, the yarn placed over my thumb is the yarn that is not attached to the ball. So this is the loose end of yarn over here. Okay, so that's going over top of my thumb. The strand that is attached to the ball of yarn is going over my index finger. And I'm placing them over top like this and then holding the strands in my hand. Okay, so we're going to first grab the yarn at the base of my thumb, grabbing the yarn over my index finger, and then pulling through that loop on my thumb. Okay, so there's 2 stitches, our slip knot, and then our new stitch we just made. Let's do that again. Grabbing underneath, grabbing the top strand, pulling through. There's 3 stitches. We need a total of 72 stitches. Okay, so I'll show you a couple more times. Grabbing under, over top, and through. There's 4. Under, over top, through. There's 5. All right, go ahead and cast on a total of 72 stitches. I have my 72 stitches. I'm going to turn my work, and we are now starting on the wrong side. While we are creating the loop at the back of the dress for the head to fit through, we will be slipping these first stitches to create a nice clean edge. So the first stitch, I'm going to just slip onto my right hand needle. So I'm not knitting it, just slipping it. Okay, next we are going to purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all the way down until the last stitch, and that last stitch will be a purl stitch. All right, so purl one, knit one to the end, and then purl the very last stitch. I've come to the end of the first row here and I'm turning my work. Okay, so now we are on the right side. We are once again going to slip that first stitch without knitting it, just onto the right hand needle. And now we are going to be making a buttonhole. So we are going to purl this first stitch, yarn over. So I'm just placing my strand of yarn over top of the needle here. I'll show that again. Yarn over is just placing your yarn over. And then we are going to purl 2 stitches together. So I'm bringing my yarn in front and grabbing these next 2 stitches, placing my needle through both of them, purling them as if they're 1 stitch. And now we are just going to knit 1, purl 1 to the end of the row. Turning my work, once again slipping the first stitch just onto the right hand needle, purl 1, knit 1 to the end, purl the last stitch. Turning my work, this is row 4, right side. We are doing the exact same thing here. Slipping the first stitch, purl 1, knit 1 to the end, purl the last stitch. Turning once again, rows 5 through 7 are all going to be the same. So across row 5, slipping the first stitch, purl 1, knit 1 to the end, purl the last stitch. Right side, same thing, wrong side, same thing. The ribbing is now complete and we are going to be setting up with our 4mm needles on the 16-inch cord now. So I'm going to go ahead and continue slipping this first stitch. You'll see on the wrong side, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're just going to be putting the yarn in front before we slip, but I'll show you that after. So here on the right side, we are still going to slip that first stitch with the yarn in back, and I'm going to knit across all of the stitches. Again, this is my 4mm needle in my right hand. I have my old 3.5mm needles in my left hand, and I'm knitting onto this new needle here. Okay, that setup row is complete. I have my stitches all on my 4mm needle now, turning my work, and we are ready to start the stitch pattern. So we are on the wrong side here. So now what happens, since we're not dealing with a purl stitch on that right side, we have to bring the yarn in front when we're slipping on the wrong side. Okay, so that yarn is going to come in front. And next we are going to purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all the way down, purling the last stitch. This portion is the same as the ribbing. It will be the next row that changes a little bit. Turning my work, I'm now on the right side, so I'm slipping the first stitch with the yarn in back. And now I'm going to do a knit 1, purl 1 to the end, knitting the last stitch. So you'll see, even though this is a purl stitch, to create our stitch patterning, we're going to knit into that stitch. And then purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 to the end, knitting the last stitch. Turning my work. Okay, on the wrong side here, I am going to slip the first stitch with my yarn in front, and next we are going to purl across all of the stitches. Right side here, we are slipping the first stitch with the yarn in the back, and we are going to knit across all of the stitches now. Wrong side, once again, we are going to slip the first stitch with the yarn in front and purl across all of the stitches. Right side, slip the first stitch with the yarn in back, knit across. Wrong side, and we're just going to repeat those last 2 rows one more time. So on the wrong side, you are slipping the first stitch, yarn in front, purling across, and then when you get to the right side, you're going to slip the first stitch with the yarn in back and knit across, and then we'll meet up there. Row 9, we are on the wrong side, and this is increase 1. We are going to start with slip 1 with yarn in front. Next, we are going to purl 1, make 1 right purl. I'm going to pick up this strand here between my 2 stitches. So you'll see I have a stitch here, a stitch over here, and then a bar of yarn in the middle. I'm going to place it on my needle, and then I'm going to go in through that stitch or that bar of yarn as if it's a stitch and purl into it. So that's make 1 right purl. I'm going to purl another 1, Now I'm going to purl 3, make 1 right purl, purl 3, make 1 right purl, and I'm going to continue that, purl 3, make 1 right purl until 3 stitches remain, and then stop there at 3 stitches left on the needle, and I'll show you what to do. Okay, I've just done my last make 1 right purl after that purl 3, make 1 right purl sequence. I'm at the final 3 stitches here. Now I'm going to purl 1, make 1 right purl, and purl 2. Okay, so we have now increased 24 stitches. You should have 96 stitches on your needles. Okay, we are now ready for the next set of stitch patterning here. We are going to start with slip 1 with yarn in back, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 until 1 stitch remains, and you'll knit that last stitch. Wrong side, we are going to slip 1 with yarn in front, and we are going to purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 to the end, and you are purling the last stitch. Okay, back on the right side here, these next 4 rows are going to be just this straight stockinette knitting. So you'll be knitting on the right side, purling on the wrong side. Just remember that when you're on the right side, you slip the first stitch with the yarn in back. When you're on the wrong side, you'll slip the first stitch with the yarn in front. Okay, so next 4 rows are just knitting on the right side, purling across the wrong side, and we'll meet back up for row 16. Okay, I've completed those 4 rows. We're on row 16 here, which is a right side row. We're still going to slip that first stitch and knit across, but at the end of the row, we're going to join in the round. So don't turn to the wrong side. I'll show you what we do when you've reached the end of the row. I have finished knitting across row 16 and we're ready to join in the round. So all you need to do is take your needles and hold them together like this. And I'm going to grab a stitch marker, place it on my needle, and knit into this first stitch on the left-hand needle. You're going to go ahead and just knit 1 round all the way around. We are now ready for the second increase round. So we are going to start with knit 4, make 1 right. I'm going to again pick up that same bar we did for the make 1 right purl, place it on my needle. Instead of purling into it, I'm going to knit into it. So grabbing that strand and knitting. Okay, again, knit 4, make 1 right, and go ahead and continue knit 4, make 1 right all the way back to the marker. Do not forget the last make 1 right lands right at that marker. Okay, so you're not just going to knit 4 and then stop. You knit 4, make 1 right when you get back here. After that second increase round, you should have increased 24 stitches and you now have a total of 120 stitches. Okay, for the next round, we are going to purl 1, knit 1 all the way around. Next round is knit 1, purl 1 all the way around. So you're just reversing again. You have a purl stitch here, so I'm knitting into it, and that's creating our seed stitch patterning. The next 6 rounds are going to be just knit. So go ahead and knit all of the stitches for 6 rounds. We are now ready for increase 3. We are going to knit 5, make 1 right, knit 5, make 1 right, all the way to the end, continuing knit 5, make 1 right, and again, do not forget about that final make 1 right, right before that stitch marker. Okay, we have once again increased 24 stitches and you should have 144 stitches on the needles. We're getting ready for our last detail here. So we are going to purl 1, knit 1 all the way around. Next round is going to be knit 1, purl 1 all the way to the end. We are now ready to separate the body and sleeves. So we are going to knit across the back 22 stitches. Go ahead and grab your tapestry needle and some scrap yarn, just pulling the next 28 stitches onto this scrap yarn. You can go ahead and tie a bow. We are now going to cast on 4 stitches using the backwards loop method. So I'm going to place my yarn over my thumb here, and I'm going to slip that yarn onto my needle. So there's 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4. We're now going to knit across the front 44 stitches. Okay, I'm once again going to place my next 28 stitches on hold. And again, casting on 4 stitches with the backwards loop method. And now we are going to knit 22 stitches back to the beginning of round marker. Okay, great. Body and sleeves are now separated. You should have a total of 96 stitches on the needles for the body. You're going to go ahead and knit 1 round back to the marker. This is now where we're going to do the rapid increase for the skirt. So we are going to knit 1, make 1 right, all the way around. Back to the beginning of round. Again, as always, do not forget that last increase right before the stitch marker. Okay, I know that increase round wasn't fun. I certainly did not have fun, but here's where you get to relax a bit. You're just going to now knit in plain stockinette, so knitting every stitch all the way around until your work measures 9 inches. Okay, and that's measured from the underarm here. So when you have 9 inches of plain knitting from the underarm, that's when you're going to stop. I have finished knitting 9 inches from the underarm, and I'm ready to start my I-cord bind off. I just wanted to hop on here and say that if you're someone who really wants to make sure that that edge is not going to roll up at all over time with the I-cord, you can add in some more of that seed stitch detailing. So you can do a round of purl 1, knit 1 to the end, then knit 1, purl 1 to the end, followed by 1 round of just plain knitting. Okay, so 3 rounds total, and that's going to help just a little bit to keep that edge down. I do find with a good wet block that this project stops rolling, but over time the yarn's going to have memory and then start to roll up a little bit and might need another wet block. So totally up to you. It's going to have a little bit of a different look at the edge if it's just plain into the I-cord versus the seed stitch into the I-cord. You can go ahead and just remove the stitch marker. For now, it's going to fall off anyways. And we're going to start by going into this first stitch here. I'm going to grab it as if I'm going to knit, get my working yarn, and place a new stitch on the needle. I'm going to go into that new stitch as if to knit, grab the yarn, and place that one on the needle. And one more time, going in through that newest stitch, grabbing the yarn and placing it on the needle. So this is where our I-cord sequence is going to begin. I'm going to knit into the first stitch and actually knit it, so it's a new stitch on my right hand needle. Knit into the second stitch, and now I'm going to go into these 2 stitches here through the back loop and knit them together. Okay, and now I'm going to slip all 3 of those stitches back onto the needle and do that again. I'm going to knit into the first stitch, second stitch, grab these 2 stitches here, and then slip all 3 back. I'll show you that a couple more times. Knit 1, 2, and then the next 2 stitches through the back loop. All right, so you can see the I-cords forming here. We're going to do that all the way around till we've reached the final 3 stitches, and I'll show you what we do at the very end. I've worked my final 3 stitches, and what we're going to do now is break a tail of yarn here. It doesn't need to be too long. And we're going to slip the stitches over so they look like they're on the left-hand needle. I'm going to grab my tapestry needle and thread this tail end of yarn. So I'm looking for the end that we started with, and I'd like to sew it together with this end we've just finished up. So I'm going to go in through this first stitch here. I'm going to drop it off the needle. I'm going to just back these two up so they don't fall off here. Now I'm looking at this starting edge, and I'm looking for the first V over here along the purl side. I see one V, another V, and another one here. So I'm looking at the first one. I'm going to go in through the two legs of that stitch and just pull together. So I've joined that first stitch, and I've joined that stitch over here on the starting edge. I'm going to bring these two back up onto the needle. Going to drop the next stitch off. Back this one up again so it doesn't fall off. Now I'm looking for the second V. Okay, so we went through this V already. I'm going to look for the next one and pull through. So now I've joined those two. Back up to the first stitch here, dropping it off the needle and looking for the first V. Okay, so we've joined our I-cord there. You can just pull this end through, and then you're going to weave in this end as you normally would. So going in through a few strands, one direction, back down, and one last time. And then you can trim that end of yarn. Now, if you're not someone who usually blocks their work when you're finished, you really do need to with this project, and really any project with an I-cord, unless there's some added ribbing before the I-cord, it needs to be blocked or it's going to roll up like this. So when you're finished, you're going to give it a wet block, and you're going to either pin it down with T-pins, or if you don't have T-pins, you can just lay a heavy book over top and kind of adjust as it dries. Obviously, you don't want the book to be soaking wet, so you're just going to move it around, making sure you press flat and keep that edge from rolling when you finish up. I now have my long cord 4mm needles, and we are going to place all of these sleeve stitches back onto the needle, just slipping them one by one all the way around. You can now go ahead and break or cut the yarn, and we're going to divide these sleeve stitches for magic loop. So we need 14 stitches on each needle. I'm just going to pull the cord through at that middle mark. So I have 14 on this side, 14 on this side, and I am pulling them back up onto the needles. Grab your working yarn, and I'm going to start by slipping the back stitches off the needle. So I have both of the needles in my left hand here. The one in behind, I'm going to slip these stitches off. We're now going to take a look at the underarm. We need to pick up 2 stitches on the left hand side of this underarm. It's going to look like there's way more than 4 stitches that were cast on at the underarm. If you remember, we did 4 stitches using the backwards loop method down here because we increased rapidly for the skirt, so it looks like there's a ton of stitches, but we're only going to be picking up those 4 original stitches. So you can see here. So all you need to do is just pick a center point that is a little bit off to the left. I'm going to go in through this stitch here, grab my working yarn, and pull the strand of yarn through that stitch I went into, making sure I still have a bit of a tail here. We're going to have to weave that in at the end. Okay, and then I'm going to find another stitch. I'll go in through this one, pull the yarn through, so that's 2. Now I'm going to go in through this bar here. You see there's a bar between the live stitches and the ones I've just picked up. I'm going to go in through that stitch, place it on the needle. So going in through the back of that stitch, and that's just going to help close up the underarm gap a little bit. You might still need to sew your underarms at the end. Okay, and now I am going to knit across these stitches. turning my work. Once I've turned my work, I'm pulling that original back needle back up and placing the stitches on. Okay, so the needle we just knit across is now in the back, and that one we had pulled off is now in the front. So I'm now pulling off that back needle that we just worked, and now I'm knitting across these stitches here. Okay, we're back at the underarm. I'm going to look for that strand of yarn between the stitches, pick it up once more and knit it through the back loop. And now we are looking for 2 more stitches on this right side. So I'm going to start with this stitch here, place my needle through, grab my working yarn and pull it over. And now 1 more stitch. I'm going to grab this one, and there we go. So we have an additional 6 stitches on the needle, so we have a total of 34 stitches or 17 stitches on each needle. Turning my work again, placing the stitches back on this front needle, pulling the back stitches off. We're now going to knit across needle 1 here. This first stitch will be loose because it hasn't been secured yet, so after you knit into it, you can just pull on that tail to help tighten it back up. Turning my work, pulling the stitches back on, taking the stitches off the back needle and knitting across needle 2. Turn your work once more. And we are now ready for our I-cord bind off, the same as the skirt. So I'm going to pull that back needle, knit into this first stitch, grab the yarn and place it on the needle. There's 1, 2, 3, going to knit into the first stitch, knit into the second stitch, and knit into the next 2 through the back loop. Slip all 3 back over and do that again. So knit 1, 2, and the next 2 through the back loop. Continue that. If you're having a hard time on how to move on to needle 2 with this I-cord, I'll show you when I get there. So I've just knit the final 3 stitches on needle 1. I'm going to pull, I'm now just pulling the stitches from needle 2 back up onto the needle. And now I can slip those stitches from needle 1 onto needle 2 and continue that way. Final 3 stitches, I've broken a tail end of yarn, slipping these stitches back onto the left-hand needle, grabbing my tapestry needle, and we are going to join the 2 ends once again. So I'm slipping that first stitch off the needle, looking for the first V here, grabbing the 2 legs and pulling through. Pull your yarn in through the back and then weave that end in. All right, so the second sleeve is going to be knit identically as the first, so you can go ahead and re-watch the first sleeve, and then we will meet back up to sew on the button. All right, depending on your button, you might need to switch over to a sewing needle if it doesn't fit through the holes of your button. And if I had left a long enough tail of yarn after my cast on, I would just use this end to secure my button, but I have not left a long enough end. So I'm grabbing a new strand of yarn here and I'm threading it through the needle. All right, our buttonhole is pretty high up over on this side here, so I'm going to match the location over on this side, go in through the back, and I'm just going to go through 2 or even 3 times if my yarn fits. All right, on the wrong side, I'm just going to go in and tie a double knot and trim that there. All right, you can go ahead and finish weaving in the rest of your ends and wet block your project, and then you are all finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please share your work on Ravelry and Instagram. I would love to see all of the different versions. Like I said in the beginning, I think you can have a lot of fun choosing different yarns, different yarn weights, colors. There's a lot of different things you can do with this one. So please share, I'd love to see, and I hope to see you at the next tutorial. Until the next one, happy knitting!